What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP, and welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast. And here with episode 37. Like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, of course, enable notifications to receive all the updates from the podcast and other content on this channel. And of course, we're going to be heading back to yesterday's match between Liverpool, between Southampton and Liverpool, of course, with more details and more talk about what this means for Liverpool in particular. And then we're going to be discussing a certain thing back from Sunday, with Chelsea and Frank Lampard, as probably you saw from the thumbnail. You know that we're going to be talking about that. But let's start with Southampton and Liverpool. To be fair, I wasn't interested in that game before it started because I thought, well, this is a Monday game. What is going to be happening in it? Nothing really of sorts, I thought, but it turned out that I was wrong. It was a very interesting game for a lot of reasons. As I mentioned in the review, this game is really important and my main takeaways were three from it. First of all, it was that Liverpool are ineffective and they're not as good as they looked anymore, and by their standards, of course, they set for the last couple of seasons, really, they are desperately off the rails. Second of all, the management from Klopp was really, really bad, and I still believe that the game management from Klopp is really wrong and probably should have made a lot of changes. Now, okay, some Liverpool fans might call for the penalties, and I saw the incidents and I didn't talk about them yesterday because I decided, well, in the heat of the moment, it's really hard to judge, but in retrospective and in hindsight, I think the two challenges or the two incidents that were thought to be penalties, I think one of them is definitely not, which is the Sadio Mane one with Kyle Walker-Peters. I don't think that's a penalty in a million years. And I know that's similar to the one with Pogba last week, but it is different, really. Sadio Mane and Walker-Peters pretty much are shoulder to shoulder. They're not exactly one in front of the other, and both are running for the ball. So that is different from the one with the handball and all. The one with the handball on Jack Stevens, well, it depends. I mean, referees might give it, some referees might, some referees don't. You don't know really what could happen had that penalty been decided or been given, but I don't think that the penalty could have changed a lot with it not being given, because I'm from that school that I don't believe that when a team is ineffective and cannot make anything relevant in the game, complains about the fact that they lost because they weren't given a penalty. I really hate that school of thought, and certainly some Liverpool fans would think that way. And okay, I absolutely probably agree. The penalty is a big game changer had it been given, but it's not given. Liverpool didn't make up anything for it. Like, it wasn't like Liverpool were playing their most slicker football and they were finding space altogether, and then the penalty came about and they weren't given that penalty. That is a different story had that happened. But it was Liverpool being ineffective, being repetitive. I mentioned it in the review yesterday and I'm going to mention it again. They have been repetitive, trying the same sort of drill over and over again. And of course, the personnel chosen by Jurgen Klopp is to blame, really, because, and probably Jurgen Klopp himself is to blame. And I know this might sound big for the Liverpool fans, but Jurgen Klopp himself is to be blamed for that loss because his tactics were not spot on. And obviously, the options allowed by the injuries and the continuous list of injuries in Liverpool is, tough. But still, at least you need to have some sort of, tactics. Playing with both centre midfielders as centre halves in Fabinho and Henderson, and playing with basically three box-to-box players in Thiago Wijnaldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Like, the three of them are more offensive than defensive, which first of all completely gives you up defensively. Like, in any counter-attack for Southampton, just check how many times Southampton got the ball and whipped a long one, Ward-Prowse or Armstrong in that midfield of Southampton whipped a long one behind the defenders and the centre midfielders and the centre halves both, and they found themselves basically head to head and against the goalkeeper. And aside from some bad finishing and sheer luck in one occasion with Jan Valley related in the game, I thought Southampton should have been probably 2-0, 3-0, because Liverpool in the other half didn't have any shot on target until the 75th minute. That is mind-boggling. Like, at least against Newcastle and West Brom in the games where they were tepid too, but also they had shots on target, they had attempts to show what they have and show really the fact that we are a good team and we are a great team, and in Liverpool we can still be dangerous and attack. The front three is getting more and more ineffective, but again, the options for Jurgen Klopp are limited with Jota's injury. You don't have basically defensive midfielders, because if you're going to be pushing Fabinho to his normal position, you're still going to be using Henderson or one of the others as centre-half. And one of the things that Liverpool probably, should have done really is to change their style. And they should have changed their style in the middle of the game, because they're playing, again, the same drill, and it wasn't ineffective. It wasn't effective, though. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a curious case at the moment. Jurgen Klopp took him out for Milner, which if anything is a testament to how Southampton, can hit you on the counter, despite the fact that they were pretty much sitting deep for the second half. Like, in particular, like, they were really sitting deep with their 4-4-2. Again, as I mentioned in the review, sitting tight and deep, but not that deep, not allowing spaces for Liverpool players to move or try to give them the initiative to find a pass or to find a long pass behind them. The crosses wouldn't be working, like, cross all day long. Bednarek and Stephens took care of, and Bednarek and Stephens is like the weakest centre-half partnership in Southampton possible, because Vestergaard is something else, and him being absent is certainly a problem for them. But still, they had a very good defensive performance, a very commandable performance. The midfield was great. They capitalised on the big mistake from Liverpool. Again, there were two mistakes in one, in that free kick that led to Liverpool conceding the first goal. Obviously, the mistake from Henderson, being inexperienced and being a centre-half, for all of his experience, for all of his leadership skills, he is not a centre-half, and thus he broke the offside trap. He gave Ings the right time to move, and Alexander-Arnold, instead of being safe and heading the ball away or kicking it away or anything like that, he chose to try and be cheeky, try to be clever, and it ended up, simply flicking him and into the path of Danny Ings, who simply it's a wild finish. It's just a superb finish from a superb player. I have to say, really, he's been a Liverpool reject. He's been, a run-of-the-mill, absolutely. And his career, of course, at Liverpool was sort of ravaged with injuries and ravaged with problems. And in the end, he scores against them, and he does the damage, which is just great. I mean, he's revitalising his career at Southampton at the right time. The scenes, of course, after the game of Ralph Hasenhüttl crying, and it really makes you feel good about football. It really reminds you why football is such a great sport, because of these kind of emotions. 12 months ago, around this time of year, last season, Ralph Hasenhüttl was in a very, very rough position, losing 9-0 at Leicester City around Christmas, and being all sorts of threatened. But Southampton, in my opinion, they made the best decision in the last decade by keeping the faith in him and giving him chance to still coach the club, and giving him chance to keep playing the football he wants at the club and keep, managing. And that faith have been not just rewarded, it is super rewarded. Like, Southampton are 4 points behind Liverpool now at the table, and the title race now in the Premier League is blown wide open. Like, it is absolutely now blown wide open. The fact that it is 4 points between Southampton, again, I mentioned yesterday, you could stretch that Premier League race all the way to West Ham if you wanted, like mathematically. There's only 7 points between all top 10 on the table, and considering that the fact that United still have a game in hand, Tottenham still have a game in hand, City have 2 in hand, Everton have 1 in hand, Aston Villa have 2 in hand as well. So if you count all that up, this is going to be a heck of a Premier League race, just absolutely on fire. And you can hear it in my voice, I am more than excited to see that pan out, because I was bored last season by this time when everybody realised, oh, Liverpool, yes, are winning 30 years from blah, 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 and then they just escape with the title. So I was bored, and this is a big, big change. I tell you who probably needs a big change now, and that, of course, segues us nicely into the main topic of the episode, really, which is about Chelsea. It is a side that needs change at the moment, and of course, after the loss against Man City on Sunday, it looks like that club is in a state of decay at the moment, and Frank Lampard is seriously in a hot seat. Lampard is seriously under pressure, like he's seriously under jeopardy. Like the loss against, I remember like when he lost against Liverpool, everybody was like, okay, yeah, Liverpool, the champions, and then all of that. But now it seems like Liverpool, or surely Chelsea, are in such a bad form that the options to replace Lampard are already lining up. According to reports, of course, we all know that Massimiliano Allegri is probably the biggest name announced and considered to be the replacement for Frank Lampard. Brendan Rodgers is on that list as well. Weirdly, and out of left field, we were just talking about him, Ralph Hasenhüttl, the Southampton manager, considered to be Frank Lampard's replacement. I don't see Ralph Hasenhüttl being the replacement, but I think Massimiliano Allegri and Thomas Tuchel probably have a chance, as well as Brendan Rodgers, who clearly making this Leicester job as a stopgap before he gets a bigger club and bigger chance again to stomp his sort of style, because since his days at Liverpool and he almost won the title there, it looks like he wants to have another crack on the whip with another club. Also out of left field, and this might be, weird enough if you follow the news, Andriy Shevchenko, the current Ukrainian national manager, is considered, of course, to be the replacement for Frank Lampard. He is, of course, I'm not going to say another legend in the club, because compared to what he did in Milan, I don't think that he did a lot with Chelsea. Like, he won Champions League with Milan, so you don't exactly think of him as a legend in that club. But also, you don't know what you're going to get with any of these three. The three that I'm talking about, of course, being Brendan Rodgers, Ralph Hasenhüttl, and Andriy Shevchenko, because I think it's clear what are you going to be getting with Massimiliano Allegri. With Massimiliano Allegri, you're going to be getting a strict coach with very, very strong personality, a serial winner, a proven manager, a manager with some stable tactics for once, because Frank Lampard, as of late, started being all sorts of crazy on the lineup, and the reports suggesting that he has a lot of favoritism towards players, and he of course his statements in the media haven't helped his case, being critical of players. To be fair, he was rightful in criticising the players, because those players haven't been performing well. But also, there's a part of that to do with him not using these players in the right ways. Like Timo Werner being used as a winger for most of the season is not how you want to use someone like him, and he has potential. Like, I know that Twitter now and social media have ridiculized him and made him a sort of a figure like, I don't know, maybe Anthony Martial in Man United. Like, Twitter is so good at ridiculizing players even when they have the best potential and talent. But there's probably truth to that. Timo Werner haven't been scoring as much as people thought he would, Of course, the adaptation to the Premier League is hard, and you know, trying to cope with the Premier League situation, the Premier League circumstances, is really hard for them. Him and his fellow German, of course, Kai Havertz, brought in with a hefty price of 80 million euros, and you know what? I don't really blame them, because Kai Havertz, of course, had COVID. His fitness wasn't exactly hitting 100%, and you know, he hasn't been playing a lot. But Timo Werner, I would say, using him not in his position, and then of course having some shockers as a centre forward. And the game against Man City, he was almost absent by presence. And you know, Lampard created all sorts of problem with, you know, choosing the wrong tactics sometimes, and not being smart, or not being in command, and not being you know, cautious when he needs cautious, not being audacious when he needs to be audacious, not knowing exactly what to do with the squad sometimes in some games where they find themselves in trouble. So the question is, and to answer the question really, should Chelsea sack Lampard? I'm gonna say no. I don't think that they should sack Lampard. I think it's gonna be wrong to sack Lampard mid-season, and this is going to taint his career. The guy is the top scorer for Chelsea of all time. Like, you are mudding a legend of your club by doing him that. And I know that there's a lot of players that have took over their clubs as, you know, coaches, and thought that, I mean, AC Milan are probably experts in that, because there have been Clarence Seedorf, there have been you know, Gennaro Gattuso as players who took over that club as coaches, and didn't just fail, they failed gloriously. Like, Clarence Seedorf spent only 6 months at Milan. That was crazy. So you know, the thing about former players, probably the only successful case, not probably, like actually the only successful case are two, in Zidane and Guardiola. Zidane at Real Madrid and Guardiola at Barcelona. Those are probably the two most successful cases of former club legends taking over as coaches and being successful. Although, you know, you could argue that Guardiola wasn't exactly as legendary of a player as he is a coach. But yeah, again, I don't think that they should sack Lampard, because that's going to be wrong for so many reasons. But who am I to know? If the reports are saying that there is a bust-up, there is some sort of falling out between the players and the coaches, some players have been critical of Frank Lampard himself, some players, of course, want him to go, conspiring against him to go. There's all sorts of headlines going out at the moment. Who am I to know? If that is the best option to clear the air at the club, and to make it smooth at the club, and make everything goes well, so be it. Like, give them you know, give them the space, give him the space, and just let him you know, just try another experience. Maybe he would go back to Derby County and try to rebuild his reputation there. But I don't think that people are just gonna gloss over his 1 season and a half if he is sacked at Chelsea, because I don't think people are gonna forget it anytime soon. I mean, certainly in terms of spending, nobody's going to forget, because they're going to be associating those players that were bought, in terms of Ziyech and Havertz and Werner in particular, they're going to be, you know, associated with Frank Lampard. So as long as they are there, probably nobody's going to be forgetting about Lampard. But there is also reports that those players are leaving. Like, weirdly enough, only 6 months into his career at Chelsea, Timo Werner is already considered to be leaving, and reports are suggesting that he might be leaving in the transfer window for next summer for Haaland. Like, there's all sorts of crazy situations now in Chelsea, and it looks like, again, lining up those managers, I don't think that those managers have an upgrade over Lampard. Like, probably the only upgrade I can see in the names, you know, suggested, of course, taking Massimiliano Allegri out of that, are, I think, in Thomas Tuchel is probably the only one who could say that he has an upgrade over Lampard, because he reached a Champions League final, he won titles with PSG. Although, again, league title, you could basically win it with an amateur team at the moment if you're PSG, because the gap is so big. between them and the other clubs. This season looks different in League A, quote unquote. Who knows? But back to the Chelsea discussion. Lampard is better than the others, really. I mean, what has Shevchenko done as a coach to warrant that? He's been in Dynamo Kiev, unsuccessful. He's been in the Ukraine national team, not really hitting the ground running at the moment. Yes, that's a good Ukrainian side, but he's not hitting the ground running anytime soon. Ralph Hasenhüttl, yes, all respect for what he's done with Southampton, but I don't think he would do it with Chelsea, with the pressure of a club like Chelsea who are, who want to be winners, who want to win leagues and Champions Leagues and want to do everything possible in football. That is going to be too much pressure for Ralph Hasenhüttl. Again, only Massimiliano Allegri is going to be a proven and serious upgrade over Frank Lampard as a coach. Even Thomas Tuchel is probably on level terms with Frank Lampard. Now, what is going to happen post Lampard? That is the other question as well. Like, people are asking, what is going to happen post Lampard? Or are the players that are going to be bought will be sold? Like, is there really any value in keeping those players? I think for a couple of them, yes, and I don't think that you should get rid of Ziyech, because obviously he's a creative kind of player. You need that in your club, because if you're going to be playing Mount and Pulisic as number 10s, these are not going to work. Like, they have the talent to be in that position, but it will need certain time. While Ziyech is naturally a diverse player and could play in multiple positions. Werner and Havertz, I don't know about that. If the board and Roman Abramovich is not patient, then he'll kick them out, and he is not afraid of spending money. Again, like £200 million spent in the last transfer window for those players is just bonkers crazy. And there's Malang Sarr, who's still on loan. If you forgot about that, there's Malang Sarr still on loan and is going to be coming next season to Chelsea. So it's all about the management now for Lampard. Can you say that the next game for Frank Lampard will be the last chance if they end up, of course, losing? And the next games, of course, they have an FA Cup fixture next on Sunday against Morecambe. And I don't think that is going to be a big deal, but maybe that will give him a boost of confidence after a couple of really, really bad results. The loss against Chelsea, the draw against Aston Villa at home, and the loss against City, which was embarrassing. It was more embarrassing than the loss against Arsenal, because, Chelsea were just lifeless. Then, of course, double games away, Fulham in the Premier League, as well as Leicester. And then Wolves. So I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't sack him instantly. Probably they would wait a couple of games. Probably the Leicester game would be another sort of metric to judge him and to give him life or not. But in my opinion, I would finish with saying I don't see him lasting for a long time. I don't think that he has what Solskjaer has. I don't think he has the luck, pretty much, that Solskjaer has in finding big results when it is needed. He doesn't have a super player like Bruno Fernandes. Let's all agree on that. He doesn't have a super player like Bruno Fernandes in United, which allows Solskjaer to plan his tactics out and rely on his brilliance to lead the team and orchestrate the attacks and orchestrate everything. Yes, there is very good players, but none of them has risen to that superstardom level instantly at the moment. And if they're going to be needing time, I don't think that the board or the fans will be that patient on him. Like, people are asking for Lampard's head at the moment and judging him and criticising him publicly. I think you should give him time. He's inexperienced relatively. Again, only one season in the Premier League, only one full season in the Premier League for him, so that is not a lot of time. Give the guy time. Give the guy time and give him some, not money, because obviously I think he spent enough, but give him some support, motivation, give him confidence, which I think is going to be necessary, and that is going to be how you need to treat someone like Frank Lampard. Give him time and give him opportunities and give him confidence in himself and in his players who do not seem to have that confidence in Frank Lampard. And again, to answer that question one more time, should Chelsea take Lampard? Hell no, I don't think they should. Moving on, and of course a quick look at what's happening today in football. Some EFL Cup fixtures, of course. The semi-final between Tottenham and Brentford is taking place. Tomorrow, of course, there will be the return of Serie A, a full fixture of matches, and we're going to be looking ahead to that. Juventus, Milan, big game, of course, the build-up of that game. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about that on the podcast, as well as the game, the big semi-final that is indeed happening this midweek between Man City and Man United after the whole debate about postponing the semi-final because of the COVID situation or what have you. But in the end, it is going to be played this Wednesday between Man United and Man City on one game, of course, and it will be played, and we're going to be taking a look at that tomorrow on the episode. Aside from that, there's no big football today, really, which is sad, considering how used we are now to the congested fixture list and matches every day in the week. That's all for the episode. Thank you for listening / watching. Like, share, comment what you think of the entire situation, about Liverpool, about Chelsea, anything else you want to comment ahead of the Juventus Milan or the Man City Man United game tomorrow. Subscribe, most importantly, to the channel. Enable notifications to receive the updates of this podcast and the other content on this channel. I'm on Twitter at SouthPSP, PitchsidePod on Instagram, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you could get your podcasts from to listen to this episode, or catch it later on at www.webreathesports.com. In the end, that was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.